Hello, this is Konstantin Papageorge, Konstantinos Papageorgiou, and let's see the basics in regard to learning the technique. Let's establish a common language then and see how we'll progress. So, the first thing that we have in the digital method for tennis is that we have mechanisms and operating principles. Now, what that does mean? It's very easy to understand it, even though at first it sounds a bit weird. But as soon as you get the idea, it's the most useful concept. So, a mechanism or an operating principle when it comes to a stroke is a basic bridging principle between technique and form. Now we will see what technique is in contrast to the form in the next slide, but I want you to have a more intuitive understanding of the mechanism. So, for example, as you all maybe know, the mechanism or the operating principle in a service is the throwing movement. So, it is a general idea of the movement. It has to do with the sensation of the movement around which the technical form is developed. So it's not the detailed way to hit a ball in a specific way, but it is the general idea without which you cannot hit effectively. For example, this is a nice example from my jujutsu teacher back in the day. So he was okay. So in order to fall in jujutsu or in judo, it's really a complex process, and you have many falls from many sides, from many ways, and things to do first, second, third, and so on. Um, so his the basic mechanism that he gave us was fall like your bag full of shit. So this was so simple and it was so basic because if you were relaxed and fall this way, you would not get injured. If you followed every other technical detail but were not relaxed as a bag full of shit when falling, you would get injured. Okay, so this is the idea behind the mechanism. So it's a sine qua non. It's something without which you cannot really grasp the basic essence, the core of the form, of the technical form. Uh, so what is the difference between technique and form? Okay, technique is the idea. Technique is the abstract idea, the archetype. It's the biomechanical model. It's not the human form of the technique. It's the stickman, let's say, presentation of the technique. The form is how this technique, this abstract archetype, is applied to a person, to a human. Uh, okay, here this says Federer's backhand. That's completely. I don't want to use the B word. That's completely crap. I don't know if that's truly a Federer's backhand, but it's epistemologically it's very wrong to try and make stickmans, make biomechanical models, technical models based on observations. That's not epistemological, that's counter theoretical. Things should be made in abstract, theory is made first and then applied. And I don't care whatever else is saying about this. They're not epistemologists. They don't know the first thing about epistemology. They're completely ignorant, and the way they do things is completely wrong. You first draw things on a paper based on principles, on general principles, and then you apply it to players, not the other way around. If it was the other way around, we scientists would just be workers. So players would dictate to us how to produce models, but that's not the case at all. Okay, I will come to that again and again. So for the time being, let's come to this general hierarchy, okay, and understand what's going on. Everything starts with a sensation, which is universal and intersubjective. So I go to a bank and it says, pull here, pull the door, something like that. But that's universal. Everybody understands what pull means. Okay, uh, but imagine if it wrote, feel well with using the door, or feel pressed, or feel released, or something like that. That wouldn't make the same sense for everybody. Okay, so sensation is first, it's universal, it's something that the coach should have as a reference point, and it should be the basis of the mechanism, of the operating principle. Okay, for example, Zach said, fall like a bag full of shit. Fall and the bag of shit and the way it falls, that sense it is common for everybody. The feeling everybody gets may be different. Okay. So, and then we have emotion. Because every feeling that we get from a sense creates also an emotional response, which is much more general, okay, and much more, let's say, internal. Emotions come not right afterwards, but they come after lots of training. And this is why we should incorporate elements, artistic elements, and theater pedagogy and stuff like that, because we have to deal also with the emotional part of the technique. And this is why we are talking about martial arts, because we find art, we find expressive emotions in technique. This is what happens in dance. This is what should happen in tennis at some point. Okay, so we start with sensation, which is global, universal, everybody should have it. This creates a feeling. Already from sensation, or from feeling, we can go to form. The trainer, the coach, has in their mind the technical form, okay, the abstract archetype, and they try to adjust it, to adapt it to a player, and create the form of the shot. The form, this is the technique, the technical side, the biomechanics. This is the form. Okay, this is something more. Also, this is also the style, because apparently this is a professional player, from what I can get. So what is style? Style is, okay, so the form of the forehand drive might be expressed in many different ways from an individual, okay, and you can see it and say, this is a forehand drive, this is the form of a forehand drive, I recognize it. But if that player trains for many years, maybe in a good way, maybe in a bad way, it doesn't matter, at some point this form adapts to their own neurotical behavior, to their own musculature, to their own levers, body levers, to their own body, and it becomes style. Okay, to go from effectively from form to style, we must go through emotions. Okay, so this is a general route. Now, tactics may be said to be, okay, let's say form or style is the skill, the expression of technique in a skill. A series of skills is a sequence. Sequences express tactics. So, a tactics may be expressed by many types of sequences. Okay, but we can't see a sequence and say, this player has this tactic. No, we must see all of the sequences, see the way he plays or she plays in general, and then understand the tactics that they're using. Okay, strategy is more general, and we cannot understand strategy again from just seeing one tactics. They are realized they're expressed by many different tactics. And we have life purpose, which is even more general. Okay. So the thing is that you should have specific tools to develop every one of these. Okay, these won't develop by themselves, or they will develop by themselves, but this development might not be neither optimal nor maximal nor maximum. Okay, it should be a very small development. Okay, not the full potential. In the distal method, I have created the full Monty, all the tools for a holistic development in every possible conceivable area. Okay, and the coaching certification program, the coaching development program or certification in some cases, provides tools, not all the tools, but tools for all parameters. Okay, for all different layers and levels. And this diagram shows the different levels. So the more to the center we go, the more concrete something gets, and the more we go to outer levels, the more abstract or general something becomes. So this shows the relationships between the different modules of the distal method in relation to their generality, let's say. Okay, and here you just see the contents again of the distal method, coach development, where it's more like a cladistic tree where you see the relations between different segments. Okay, you will have the opportunity to study this. I have it in some papers. I have it in also in some handouts for you. One more thing that we have in the distal method, I mean, we really have it in depth, are reference points. These are points in the movement that we may use as anchors. So when I say, when I refer to, for example, hitting position or universal reference point, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Okay. And this is really important for an online course, and I have already written an article about this. Reference points can usually be transitional points in the technique, in the form or technique. Okay, so points where the a kinetic let's say model is it changes. Okay, so for example, I'm hitting the I use one way to move my body until I open, and then I use another way to move my body, and in between there's a reference point. That's not necessary, that's just an example of what a reference point could be. Watch the videos, I explain them thoroughly. The reference points used are the starting or opening position, the hitting position, the contact point, which is an area more or less, the universal reference point, and the end point. And let me remind you about two of these. The hitting position, the arm is stretched back, the elbow is fully supinated or pronated, depends, and the wrist is fully extended or neutral, depends. I'm leaving this slide for you to, or push pause to, if you can't remember it, to just see it a bit more. The universal reference point is the theoretical point where the body retains the same kinesiology after contact point. So when I hit the ball, when I touch the ball with my racket, of course I don't change immediately what I'm doing, but there is a period of time that I'm doing the exact same thing because I have a momentum, and of course it's very dangerous to alter it. Okay. But I do this up to a point. That point might be before the end point of the movement, at the end of the movement, or after the end point of the movement. Okay, so for example, in forehand drive, I hit the ball, I continue, nothing else changes theoretically. I continue to pronate the hand. Okay, and at some times I also add internal rotation. The difference is that in pronation the elbow is completely still and only the hand is moving, and in internal rotation the elbow is also moving. Okay, and until a point, that point is before I reach the universal reference point. Okay, after this point I have to start bending my elbow to come to the end position, and exactly at that point we have the universal reference point. Okay, so this helped you to expand a bit or understand or some points a bit more, or sum up some points, and I'll see you at the next chapter.